Welcome to Long Story Short. Today we are traveling to a miserable, poorly managed farm in the English countryside to dissect George Orwell's legendary political allegory, Animal Farm. Imagine a group of abused, starving farm animals who rise up, overthrow their cruel human master, and attempt to build a perfectly equal utopian society. On the surface, this is a simple fairy tale about talking pigs and horses. But just beneath the surface lies a surgical, devastating breakdown of the Russian Revolution and the rise of the Soviet Union. We are going to break down exactly how a noble revolution decays into a brutal dictatorship and why this short book remains one of the sharpest political critiques ever written. Long story short, Animal Farm is not just a fable about farmyard animals. It is an autopsy of corruption. It shows us that political power is inherently intoxicating and that those who lead the revolution will almost always become the exact tyrants they swore to destroy. First, let's establish the cast, because every major animal represents a specific historical figure from the Soviet era. The story begins on Manor Farm, owned by the drunken, neglectful Mr. Jones, who represents Tsar Nicholas II. One night, an ancient, highly respected prize boar named Old Major calls a secret meeting in the barn. Old Major represents Karl Marx and Vladimir Lenin. He shares a vision of a world where animals are free from human oppression, introducing the philosophy of animalism, which directly mirrors communism. Shortly after Old Major dies, the animals spontaneously rebel. They drive Mr. Jones off the property and rename it Animal Farm. The pigs, being the most intelligent animals, naturally take the leadership roles. There are two main pigs fighting for control. Snowball is brilliant, idealistic, and deeply focused on educating the animals and improving the farm's infrastructure. He represents Leon Trotsky. Opposing him is Napoleon. Napoleon is quiet, ruthless, and highly manipulative. He represents Joseph Stalin. To govern their new utopia, the pigs paint the 7 commandments on the side of the barn. The absolute most important commandment is the last one. All animals are equal. In the beginning, the farm thrives. The animals work harder than ever because they are working for themselves. The ultimate symbol of this working class is Boxer, a massive, incredibly strong cart horse. Boxer represents the dedicated, deeply loyal, but uneducated proletariat. His personal motto is simply, "I will work harder." But the corruption begins almost immediately. The pigs quietly decide that they need all the milk and apples for their brain work, leaving none for the other animals. To convince the animals to accept this, Napoleon uses a pig named Squealer. Squealer is an incredibly persuasive speaker who can turn black into white. He represents the Soviet propaganda machine, like the Pravda newspaper. Squealer manipulates statistics to convince the starving animals that they actually have more food than they ever did under Mr. Jones. The final fracture in leadership happens over the construction of a massive windmill. Snowball wants to build the windmill to generate electricity and give the animals a 3-day work week. Napoleon opposes it. But right before the farm can vote on the project, Napoleon unleashes his secret weapon. He has been secretly raising a pack of vicious attack dogs. The dogs chase Snowball off the farm entirely. Napoleon seizes total dictatorial control and immediately claims the windmill was his idea all along. If Orwell's brilliant, razor-sharp political allegory is something you want to experience firsthand, and you must if you want to understand how dictators manipulate language, I have linked the full audiobook and physical copy in the description below. Consuming the original text is the absolute best way to watch the slow, terrifying erosion of the animals' rights. For now, let's look at the absolute betrayal of the working class. Under Napoleon's rule, the farm becomes a nightmare. The animals work like slaves to build the windmill, while the pigs move into the farmhouse, sleep in beds, and begin drinking alcohol, all of which were strictly forbidden by the original 7 commandments. Whenever an animal questions these changes, they check the barn wall. But under the cover of darkness, Squealer has been altering the text. No animal shall sleep in a bed. It's changed to No animal shall sleep in a bed with sheets. No animal shall drink alcohol becomes no animal shall drink alcohol to excess. The pigs literally rewrite the law to justify their own luxury. To maintain total control, Napoleon uses fear. He forces animals to falsely confess to working with the exiled Snowball and then has his dogs tear their throats out in front of the entire farm. This is a direct parallel to Stalin's Great Purges. The most devastating moment of the book centers on Boxer. Boxer has worked himself to the bone to rebuild the windmill after it collapses. Finally, his lungs give out. He collapses, expecting to retire in the pasture as promised. But Napoleon sells his most loyal worker to the local horse slaughterer just to get enough money to buy a case of whiskey for the pigs. When the animals see Boxer being taken away in the glue factory's van, Squealer convinces them the van actually belongs to a veterinarian and that Boxer died peacefully in a hospital. Years pass, the older animals die, and the new animals have no memory of the original rebellion. The terrifying climax of the novel happens when the other animals look at the farmhouse. The pigs have learned to walk on their hind legs, they carry whips in their trotters, they wear human clothes. The animals rush to the side of the barn to read the 7 commandments. But all the commandments have been erased. They have been replaced by a single, terrifying paradox. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. The pigs host a dinner party with neighboring human farmers. As the starving animals look through the farmhouse window, watching the pigs and the humans drink and play cards, they look from pig to man, and from man to pig, and from pig to man again. But it is already impossible to say which is which. Clear as throat. To guarantee an A on your final essay, you need to master 3 foundational symbols from this text. First, the windmill. The windmill represents the massive forced industrialization projects in the Soviet Union, like Stalin's 5-year plans. The pigs promise the windmill will bring easier lives, but instead it requires brutal slave labor, and its energy is ultimately used to mill corn for profit, enriching the pigs while the other animals continue to starve. Second, the sheep. Whenever an animal tries to voice a complaint or debate Napoleon's policies, the massive flock of sheep begins bleating their mindless slogan, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. The sheep represent the blind, unthinking masses who are easily manipulated by propaganda to drown out any intellectual opposition or free speech. Third, the alteration of the commandments. This is Orwell's ultimate warning about the mutability of the truth. It shows how authoritarian regimes manipulate history and language. If a government can constantly rewrite the laws in the past to suit its current needs, the citizens have absolutely no objective reality to anchor themselves to, making rebellion impossible. The ultimate takeaway for your finals? Animal Farm is a warning about the cycle of tyranny. It proves that simply removing a dictator does not guarantee freedom because the power vacuum will almost always be filled by someone worse. If you have a paper or a test coming up, watching a summary gets you the plot, but reading Orwell's actual prose is where you master the material. Click the Amazon or Audible link in the description to get the full version of Animal Farm right now. That is the long story short. Please like and subscribe for more literature breakdowns. See you in the next one.